Let's talk about the Make Noise Polimaths. So the reason I wanted to talk about the Polimaths in particular today is because I've realized how it's become an improvisational powerhouse for my live techno sets. I wasn't even looking for or asking for anything like this to go into the live rig, but if you might remember from a previous video when I met up with Matt from 3 Wave Music at a synth meetup, he, being the salesman that he is, talked me into putting in a pre-order for the Polimaths. Now, normally I would never put money down on something that I hadn't obsessively researched before, but the way that he was explaining it to me just seemed very utilitarian and very useful. But little did I know that when Make Noise would come out with all of their demo videos and their instructional videos, that this module was gonna be so good for improvisational live techno. So right off the bat, this is not gonna be a feature-rich deep dive into every single thing that this module can do, because I don't think I would do a very good job at that. But what this video actually is my thought process and my workflow on how I use the Polimaths for live techno. So let me show you how I use it in a few patches that I've been loving. All right, so let's get into it. So what I have is DPO and 4 of its waveforms being controlled by the first 4 channels of Polimaths. And then I like to save channels 5 through 8 for some funky modulation that creates grooves and rhythms just from the modulation itself. So I like to look at it as the left side is my voice that's going into it, and the right side is the modulation that is going to add to the groove that we're gonna create. So to get started, I am going to plug in channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, and channel 4. And this is just the final square saw and triangle wave from oscillators A and B of the DPO. So if we send a gate into the activate input, we should hear. So we hear the DPO being activated now. Already you have something super cool, something that you could vibe to, something that you can groove to. Even just adding a kick here, and you're off to the races. All right, but let's not get too deep into the weeds now. So now I'm going to use channels 5 through 8 to do some modulation, to add another layer of rhythm and another layer of groove to this. So I usually don't come in hot off the gate activating all 4 channels of the voice like that. In a live performance context, I like to bring each of them one by one and kind of mix it up. So maybe instead of going down the line, I'm doing channels 1 and 4, and that's its own rhythm. Or channels 1 and 3. So it's just an endless fountain of just grooves and rhythms that you can vibe to, that you can jam with. So channels 5 through 8 are gonna go into the Ghosts, which is the reverb and delay. And I also like to do a little bit of frequency modulation with the filter of QPAS. So that will go into channel 7. And then let's have the filter cutoff of the Ghost go into channel 5. And then let's have some repeats from the delay going to channel 6, and then the tail of the reverb into channel 8. So now that everything's patched up, we're gonna be able to hear what that secondary rhythm and that secondary groove is. Now, one thing I do wanna explain is the spread function. So if this is turned to the left, channels 1 through 4, which we know are our voice, are going to be affected by these parameters right here. So the rise, fall, rate, and oscillation parameters. So if we just want to hear what that sounds like and what effect it has, Right now, the spread knob is pointed to the left, so channels 1 through 4 are going to be more affected by these knobs. In this case, the fall parameter, which is just the decay. But if I put that to the right, now the modulation has a longer fall time, and you could hear that modulation be more pronounced in the groove. And now we're going to turn this to the left just to hear the voice decay go up. Right, so using this as a live performance tool is super fun, super handy. And one thing with the Ghosts in particular is this filter knob. So I like to put it right around maybe 3 o'clock, and you're gonna be able to hear the different grooves as we point the spread to the right. And just moving this knob a little bit in junction with the modulation that we're getting from Polimaths gives you different rhythms just by moving this knob. So instead of just hearing the voice here, like this, when we sweep through this filter, we're gonna have different rhythms as we go through it. And now if we start to build this up a little bit, So you can see how easily you can build up a rhythm, build up a track live, mess with the accumulation of the channels. So maybe one time for one break, I might want to just increase the fall time of the voice and keep the modulation a little less, and vice versa. And if this isn't something that you fancy, you can just change the channel with the span index here, and now you have a completely different groove, just like that. So maybe for one channel, you can jam for 10, 15 minutes in front of a crowd, and then once you're ready to move on, you can just change the channel. And have different rhythms, different melodies, and I mean, this is just so much fun to do live and mess around with. So for this patch, I have the shape, angle, fold, and exponential parameter on the DPO plugged into channels 5 through 8. And as I turn the filter up, you'll be able to hear how crazy this sounds. Sounds like a firework. something maybe a little more atmospheric, something in the background, to really keep driving the track forward. So building on that, if you just change modes here, while we were in round mode in the last patch, now we're in parallel mode. And in parallel mode, it's essentially, it runs a clock divider. So I have a gate going into span here. And if we turn this up, we can sort of hear the same effects of the modulation from the last patch. But now it's a little bit more rhythmical. You can just have so much fun with this, and I know that the focus here is live improv, but just imagine you have all these clock divided rhythms just at your fingertips like this. You can be real subtle with it, or you can go as crazy with it as you want. So up until this point, the only thing that we've had patched into the activate input is 16th note gate outputs from PAMs. So it sounds like this. But what if we took the activate input and we took in a separate sequence from the torso T1? And we put that into the activate input. Now we've changed the rhythm completely. So while we can do exactly what we were doing before on the torso by just putting 16th note gates in here, if we change up the pulses on the torso or the gates going into the activate input of Polimaths, have a completely new rhythm here. And I have channels 5 through 8 patched into the same modulation inputs that we did in the first patch on Ghosts and on QPAS. So it's a little more of a nuanced rhythm, and again, if I can just change it up by just changing the pulses or by changing the pulses on the torso. So as you can listen to on here, with the 8-step reset, we have the oscillator, we have the waveforms from the DPO going, but also that background groove is all through the modulation of the Polymaths channels 5 through 8 going into Ghosts and QPAS. And again, if I turn the spread to the right, so let's change up the pattern on the torso T1. Easily just put in new patterns here by changing up the gates that you're setting from your sequencer. And let's say we clear these pulses. So I hope that this video inspires you to mess with modulation in similar ways, but in particularly, I just had to talk about how good the Polymaths is, because all these things that I've explained in this video are things that I did during my live show and things that I do on the fly, and things that I do fully improvised. So a lot of the times, the Polymaths is gonna dictate kind of what direction I wanna go, you know, how bouncy or how driven a groove and rhythm is, or I'll use it for call and response sort of thing. So for example, sometimes whatever comes out of the Polymaths, I will then program a response to that with either Manus or with the Laquelic, and the possibilities are just endless, and that's kind of what makes this whole process super fun. So I really hope you like this video on the Polymaths and how I use it for live improv techno. If you really want to help out the channel, drop a thumbs up, comment, like, and subscribe. I really appreciate you. And remember, keep pushing, keep patching, keep playing.